everybody, welcome to John's Briefs here at Active Self-Protection Extra. With me is the Executive Vice President of Firearms Legal Protection. Again, the least scumbag lawyer I know, Terry Johnson.
Thank you.
And my favorite former Fed, Mike Williver, the host of the Ask podcast. And we're doing some John's Briefs on police-involved stuff and how we as private citizens understand it. We are all three private citizens today in this day and age. And today I want to talk about Tennessee versus Garner and police use of deadly force on fleeing suspects. My family and my staff are all covered by Firearms Legal Protection because there is no better resource to help good, sane, sober, moral, prudent people after a use of force. They now have a great newsletter available to everyone for free as well. Sign up at the link below and check out their coverage too. Don't forget to thank them for bringing us today's video. So Mike, we talk about this on the badge cans pretty darn regularly, just had this one come up. Would you describe for me as somebody who kicked a lot of doors, dealt with a lot of real, no joke bad guys, he's got stories to tell now that he retired, how you would describe what Tennessee versus Garner means to law enforcement officers?
It's actually super simple. If you have a fleeing suspect, so let's say you, just give you a scenario, the police roll up to a bank robbery in progress. Bad guy runs out the front door with a gun, shoots at the police, they miss, and he takes off running still with gun in hand. Can I shoot that person to prevent his escape? Absolutely I can. Because he has shown he has the means, opportunity, intent to commit a violent crime. He has shot at the police, or anyone else for that matter, and now he is leaving still with the capability of causing death and grievous mayhem on everyone else. Let's say that same situation. The guy runs out front, says like this with his hands up, says, "Screw you" to the cops, and makes a gesture and then runs away empty-handed. Can I shoot that guy to prevent his escape? No, I cannot.
No, I cannot.
Why not?
Not even in Chicago? Never mind, I'm sorry.
Chicago is a whole different story. Because I have no, I mean, maybe it'd be a real wobbler if they said, well, when he was inside, you know, the dispatch told me that the guy had a gun, maybe, kind of, sort of, but am I gonna sleep well at night shooting that guy in the back if he's not posing a threat? Nah,
right.
but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So this seems like a pretty cut and dry thing, right? This
Generally.
seems like, okay, so if I have, we'll talk about Graham versus Conner and the objective reasonableness standard another day, but if I have somebody who is an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to an officer or to the community, then the Supreme Court has held that then that use of force is reasonable.
Correct.
But Terry, you said that you've seen some abuses of this.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part of this is we as citizens always believe that these things apply to us, and they don't. And this is where a lot of confusion comes about, okay? So for example, people say, hey, can I shoot a bad guy that's running away with a gun? It's a lot different than what Mike just described, right? If the guy's running away and he doesn't pose a threat to you, it's completely different. Let me give the first thing that a lot of people don't understand is that when you deal with the Constitution of the United States, you are the citizen. It is an agreement between yourself and the government. The government being an actor, whether it's the police, sheriff, state police, whomever. And those constraints those constraints apply to those actors, not to you.
Right.
So Tennessee versus Garner really has, in my opinion, no place for the average citizen. But we attempt again and again to say, but in Tennessee versus Garner, I can shoot a fleeing suspect. But that doesn't apply to you. That's about a Fourth Amendment seizure. And you as a private citizen don't have the opportunity to seize people.
We have to.
I know the comments are going to come right now.
We got to define terms, right?
Yep.
So a seizure, as defined by the court, is the state, whether that's a federal government, a state government, a local government, detaining somebody, stopping them from the freedom to go about their business.
They take control, correct.
They take control in some way.
And a seizure, just so everybody's clear, it does not have to be physical. Because a lot of people think seizure means I'm in handcuffs. If you're walking down the street and Mike sees you and Mike says, stop, you've been seized. Would you agree?
Well, the word arrest is there for a reason. You're under arrest, meaning your movement has been arrested.
Yes.
You're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to go wherever you want to go. Handcuffs are largely irrelevant in that
Yeah,
situation.
you are
Yes.
detained. Right? You're not free to go.
The minute I give you the impression that you're not free to go in some cases. So if you're surrounded by 8 cops and you're not, there's no easy way to just walk away from that. That can be considered an arrest at detention.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
And
Chris
that-
Rock, excuse me.
And, sorry, and that's when your rights kick in, right then.
So to me, this looks like, and I know there are going to be comments on this, okay? That the difference here is that the officer is tasked by society with the responsibility to not just protect themselves. They have the right, like any other citizen does, to protect themselves from death or great bodily harm, but they have the responsibility to protect the community. Now, where people argue about this, in my opinion, is they say, well, the Supreme Court has said the officer doesn't have a responsibility to protect any individual in the community.
They said that.
But that's a different argument than what we're saying. Because if you think about it, when we're talking about this particular case, we're talking about the Fourth Amendment and who it applies to.
Okay?
And when you talk police officers, they're on one side of the amendment as the government. And then you're talking the other side, which is you, the private citizen. Those roles never swap. So as the government actor, the police, they can't do certain things. And there are certain things they can do. They can seize someone.
Right.
I can as a private citizen. So because I can't seize someone, and in this case, Tennessee versus Garner, if you really look at it, it just doesn't apply to private citizens.
I think that's an important point. So I know somebody's going to make a question here about citizen's arrest. We'll talk about it in another video.
We got to do Gomer Pyle, put that in the middle. When he did that one, citizen's arrest.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no kidding. But the point I think that we've got to get here is Tennessee versus Garner applies to police officers in the performance of their official duties and is about them seizing someone.
Yes. It's about them and the Fourth Amendment.
Right.
So whether it's seizure, whether it's anything in the Fourth Amendment concerning unreasonable search and
well, in Tennessee versus Garner, though, was about using deadly force to seize of someone who is fleeing. So it's a very thin slice of the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning. We looked it up just to make sure we had our I's crossed and our T's dotted, as my father used to say. And the case is very simple. It involves someone fleeing from the police, a young man, turns out he was 15, I think we said. And he was trying to jump a fence, and the officer stated under oath that he could see he was not armed, not readily armed. He jumped the fence, and he's getting away, and he shot him in the head to prevent him from escaping. And under Tennessee law, that was okay.
At the time.
And then it went to the Supreme Court, and now we have the laws it is now. And I think as it relates to a private citizen, this is my opinion now, a private citizen who wants to detain someone, I would not recommend shooting someone who is trying to get away. If they're armed and they're running towards a school and they're saying, I'm going to murder kids, well, then we could talk about it.
Right.
But in order to detain someone, I don't recommend shooting them. I know some people are like, well, he was in my house, he has my TV. Dude, we'll get another TV.
Yeah.
You don't want to, you can ask Terry and John, you don't want to go down the road of having to defend yourself after shooting someone you didn't absolutely have to shoot. It's not a good place to be legally.
So I think whether you're an officer or a private citizen, the day that you use deadly force, your life will never be the same.
Correct.
And the only reason you would is because the consequences of not using deadly force are so grand and so unobtainable, so unfathomable that you have to.
Right.
The alternative is unthinkable.
Is he running into your kid's room with a gun? Well, now we can talk.
Now we
Yeah,
have
that's
an
something
objective,
different.
reasonable,
Yeah.
deadly threat to my children.
Yeah.
Right. That's very different.
And that's a very different story. So I think the big thing here, we have an objective standard. This is why officers don't use deadly force against fleeing suspects often at all. They'll let them go many times. But number two, why that has nothing to do with you and I as private citizens. Terry, Mike, thank you for the discussion.
My pleasure.
Thank you.